There's a sound faint but rising. You may not hear it with your ears, but your soul feels it. The clock is ticking. The heavens are shifting. And something has broken open in the spiritual realm. Something ancient. Something prophetic. The world keeps moving, scrolling, swiping, pretending like it doesn't feel it. But deep down, many of you feel the tremble in your chest, in your mind, in your sleep. You wake up at 2 a.m. and wonder, why do I feel so hollow? It's not anxiety, it's not depression, it's a summoning. You were not made to waste away in mediocrity, to chase after hookup culture, to drown your soul in screens and surface pleasures. You were born in this generation for a reason. You were placed here in this exact moment in history because the last sign before the rapture, the awakening of men, has begun. No, I'm not talking about church pews and religion. I'm talking about fire, revival, return. Men all over the world are waking up from spiritual slumber, from brokenness, from apathy. The veil is thinning, and a deeper reality is revealing itself. You can keep scrolling and pretend you're numb, but the truth is, you felt it all along. That ache, that confusion, that hunger. It's the call to become the man you were born to be before time runs out. This is your moment, because the last rapture sign has already appeared, and what you do now will echo in eternity. Absolutely. Here's chapter 1 expanded into a 450-word lecture, style monologue in the emotional, prophetic voice of Jonathan Cahn, direct, symbolic, and deeply human. There is a cry inside you that you've been trying to silence. You bury it in distraction. You hide it beneath hustle. You drown it in pleasure. But it's still there. It doesn't go away. It's not a weakness. It's ancient. It's sacred. It's the echo of Eden. The sound of something lost long ago, still calling out to be found. And deep down, beneath all the layers of noise and numbness, you've heard it. You hear it in the stillness, in the heartbreak, in the moments where everything goes quiet. It's not the cry of a broken man. It's the sound of a soul trying to remember who he was before the world told him what he had to be. You were not made to just survive. You were not created to just wake up, scroll, grind, repeat. You are not an algorithm. You are not a follower count. You are not a statistic in someone's marketing funnel. You are a living soul, stamped with fire, born with a purpose too great for this shallow age. And the ache you feel, it's not depression, it's not failure, it's the holy discontent of a man who knows there's more. Who knows he was born for battle, born for meaning, born for love that doesn't leave when things get hard. Somewhere along the way, they told you to hide it, that it was too much, too sensitive, too intense. So you dulled your edge, you played it cool, you joined the sleepwalkers. But the cry didn't die, it waited. Because the rapture isn't just a moment in time, it's a wake-up call. And you are the one being awakened. You are the sign. When a man rises from the pit, from porn, from shame, from fear, from dead religion, that's the greatest miracle of all. Because the heavens shift when a son remembers his father. It doesn't start with lightning. It doesn't start with explosions in the sky. It starts in the dark, in silence. In the moment when a man says, I can't live like this anymore. That's where the trumpet sounds. That's where it all begins. You're not here by accident. You didn't stumble on this message by chance. The cry is calling again, and this time it's not going away. Because this world doesn't need more men with image. It needs men with fire, with vision, with eternity in their eyes. And that, my brother, is you. The last rapture sign has already appeared, and it's you waking up. There is an exodus happening, not the kind you read about in Sunday school. This one is raw. This one is bloody. This one is happening right now, inside the souls of men. The masculine soul is standing up and saying, enough. For too long, you've been held captive, not by pharaohs of stone, but by addictions, by mediocrity, by the gods of hookup culture, by the lies of a system that told you you're just an accident with no soul and no calling. But there comes a moment where a man doesn't need anyone to rescue him, because he realizes the chains were never locked. They were just familiar. The lie said, "You're just a guy. Just chill. Don't care too much. Don't feel too deep." But something in you refused to die. And that something, that divine ember still burning in your gut, is the sound of the Exodus. And it's not just your escape, it's your becoming. Because when men leave Egypt, they don't just leave bondage, they leave the identity of a slave. That means no more apologizing for your strength, no more shrinking to make others comfortable, no more playing small when you were born for war. But hear me, the moment you try to leave, Pharaoh will come after you. The culture won't let you go quietly. Lust will pull on you. Shame will whisper, "You're not good enough." You'll go back. You always go back. But that voice is a lie. And when God splits your Red Sea, it means you never go back again. There's no halfway. You don't dabble in freedom. You step into it like a man on fire. Some of you are feeling this in your body right now. The chills, the tears, the anger, that's not emotion, that's prophecy. That's a holy remembrance. You were never made to bow to false gods. You were made to stand in the storm, to lead your soul out of Egypt, not just for you, but for the men watching you, the sons coming after you, the generations that will either live in slavery or walk in freedom because you decided to rise. This isn't about religion. This is about revolution. You were born to be a sign, a walking, breathing, burning sign, that when a man chooses God over culture, the chains break, the sea parts, and the Exodus begins. And brother, the Exodus has already begun. There is a deeper war going on right now, and it's not over politics, not over money, not even over morality. It's a war over identity, a war over sonship. Because if the enemy can convince you that you're just a man, just flesh, just a failed project, then he can keep you bound. He can keep you chasing validation from women, approval from friends, applause from strangers. But the moment you remember who you are, not just a man, but a son, everything changes. You see, the prodigal son didn't just lose his money. He didn't just lose his way. He lost the memory of who he was. He thought he was just a worker, just another man trying to survive. But the father ran to him not with shame, not with a lecture, but with robes, with rings, with restoration. Because sons don't earn love. Sons carry it in their blood. And I know some of you grew up without a father, or worse, with a father who was present in body but absent in spirit. So you carry that ache into every part of your life, into your dating, your discipline, your self-worth. You look in the mirror and you see a man, but you feel like an orphan. And I want to tell you something the world will never say. You were never abandoned. You were chosen. You were seen. The Father of time has never taken his eyes off you. He doesn't need your performance. He doesn't need your perfection. He just wants your return. And the rapture, the real rapture, isn't just about escape. It's about reunion. Sons coming home. Men remembering their place. Not on a throne of ego, but in the arms of the one who gave them breath. That's why the enemy hates you. That's why your life has felt like a war zone. Because if you ever realize you're not a reject, not a mistake, not a nice guy, lost in a world of wolves, but a son of God with authority in your bones and fire in your voice, you become dangerous, not to people, but to every system that profits off your brokenness. You become the kind of man who doesn't just break curses. You reverse them. The cry of heaven right now isn't, do better. It's, come home. And the moment you do, not as a beggar, not as a boy, but as a man who remembers where he came from, that's when the rapture begins in you. Because the world doesn't change when men grow older. It changes when sons come home. And you, my brother, it's time. We are living in Babylon. Not the Babylon of ancient ruins, but one rebuilt in pixels, in apps, in dopamine loops, in empty swipes and hollow messages. You can feel it. You log on looking for love, for something real. And you end up more empty than when you started. Because Babylon doesn't give love. It sells imitation. It hands you validation without covenant, pleasure without purpose. It offers you connection without the cost of commitment. And every time you say yes to it, a piece of your soul feels the grief, the ache of knowing this is not what I was made for. You weren't designed for casual. You weren't wired for shallow. You weren't created to collect bodies and lose yourself in the process. You were formed in fire, for depth, for covenant, for the kind of love that costs something. But Babylon teaches you to hide your hunger, to pretend you're chill, to act like you don't care, when deep down, you're dying for someone to see the real you and stay. The culture says, don't catch feelings. God says, guard your heart. There's a difference. One builds walls, the other builds wisdom. Babylon will keep feeding you surface level pleasure until your soul is numb. But one day, you'll wake up next to someone whose name you barely know and realize you traded sacredness for survival. But it's not too late. You see, the enemy's greatest fear is not that you stay single. It's that you become whole, because a whole man, grounded in God, rooted in truth, clear in identity, is a threat to Babylon. That man won't be fooled by filters and falsehoods. That man won't settle for lust dressed up as love. That man doesn't chase women to fill a void. He becomes the kind of man who draws a woman of God, not by charm, but by character. If you're in a cycle right now of hooking up, numbing out, chasing, ghosting, getting ghosted, it's not because you're broken. It's because you're hungry, but you've been feeding on ashes. It's time to come back to the table, to feast on something real, something sacred, something eternal. You don't need to prove your worth. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be honest. God is not asking you to fake strength. He's asking you to surrender, to let Him shape you into the kind of man who doesn't just desire love, but can carry it. This isn't about finding the one. It's about becoming His one, a man Babylon can't buy and heaven can trust. Because even in Babylon, you were always meant for Zion, and your soul knows it. Some of you are in the middle of silence right now. Heaven feels quiet. You've prayed, you've cried, you've asked for answers, and all you've gotten back is stillness. And that silence can feel like punishment, like abandonment, like God walked away and left you in the desert with your questions echoing back at you. But listen to me, brother. Silence is not the absence of God. Sometimes it's the sign that He's about to move. Go back to the scriptures. Before the flood came, there was silence. Before the fire fell from heaven, there was stillness. Before Jesus rose from the grave, there were 3 days of silence. And before the trumpet of the rapture sounds, there is silence in the heavens. Don't confuse quiet with absence. Don't let the silence fool you, because silence is often preparation. In the silence, God is positioning things you cannot see. He's stripping away what you thought you needed. He's removing what can't go with you into the next chapter. That loneliness, that loss, that fog, that's not failure. That's refining. Heaven does not shout over your distractions. It waits for them to collapse. And here's the truth most men won't say out loud. The silence exposes what you truly believe. Anyone can say they trust God when He's talking. But can you trust Him when He's quiet? Can you walk when there's no map, no confirmation, no applause? That's when real men rise. That's when sons become warriors, not because they feel ready, but because they know the silence isn't empty, it's holy. This is your oil season. You remember the parable? 10 virgins waiting for the bridegroom. 5 brought extra oil, 5 did not. And when the call came, only the ones who were ready in the silence could go with Him. You're not waiting because you're forgotten. You're waiting because He's teaching you how to be prepared, not just blessed. You don't build strength in battle. You build it in the quiet. You don't learn to lead when the crowds cheer. You learn in the hidden place, when no one sees, no one affirms, and God feels distant. That's where your character is forged. That's where your calling is tested. That's where the foundation is laid, not on emotion, but on eternity. So don't despise this silence. Don't numb it. Don't rush it. Don't curse it. Because what feels like a void is actually a womb. Something is being born in you. And when the trumpet finally sounds, you'll be the one already standing. You've been waiting for signs, looking to the skies, listening for news, watching the world spiral and wondering, is this it? Is this the end? Is the rapture near? But hear this now, the greatest sign is not in the heavens, it's in you. The final trumpet is not just a sound from the clouds, it's the sound of a man waking up, a man who refuses to live numb, who throws down the mask, who breaks the cycle, who looks in the mirror and doesn't see shame, doesn't see failure, but sees a warrior, sees a son, sees a vessel of glory rising in the rubble of a collapsing world. You are the sign. The moment you say, no more pretending, no more drifting, no more compromise, the angels take notice. Hell trembles. Heaven moves. You don't need to be in a pulpit. You don't need to have a title. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be awake. Because when men like you wake up, the darkness loses its grip. Entire bloodlines shift, chains snap, legacies are rebuilt. You become the line in the sand, the moment where curses end and covenant begins. You want to know where the last trumpet sounds. It's in the moment you look temptation in the face and say, I've tasted your lies. I want more. It's in the moment you fall to your knees, not out of defeat, but out of surrender. It's in the moment your heart breaks, and instead of running to numb it, you lift it to God and say, use this pain, burn it into purpose. This world doesn't need more noise. It needs signals. Men who walk differently, love differently, lead differently. Not perfect men, but awakened men. And maybe you thought your story disqualified you, that the mistakes, the secrets, the addiction, the years of hiding somehow erased your value. But God is not looking for clean resumes. He's looking for open wounds. He heals what you're willing to expose. He breathes on what you surrender. And when he breathes on a man, that man becomes the trumpet. The world is waiting for that sound, not from a preacher, from you. So stop looking to the clouds. Start looking within. Because when your heart turns, when your mind clears, when your soul stands up, the final trumpet has already sounded. And your awakening, brother, is the signal that time is running out. If you've made it this far, you already know. Something's shifting, not just in the world, but in you. You felt it in your chest, in your bones, in your silence. You didn't just hear these words, your spirit recognized them. Because this wasn't information, it was a summons. You're not just a viewer on a screen, you're a sign, a sound, a signal to a broken world that something greater is coming. And it starts inside one awakened man. And maybe you've been silent your whole life. Maybe they told you to be chill, to be quiet, to stay small. But I'm telling you now, it's time to speak, to rise, to move. And maybe this video is your trumpet. Maybe this moment right here is your return. If you felt something break in you, or rise in you, or burn in you, don't keep it to yourself. Comment below, I heard the trumpet. Let the other men in this tribe find you. You're not alone. You were never alone. There's a remnant rising, and you're a part of it. Like this video, if it woke something up inside you, share it with the one man you know is on the edge. And subscribe, not for content, but because we're building a war camp of awakened men. The last rapture sign has already appeared. It's you. And your voice might be the one that calls another soul home.